Welcome to 5-Minute Adventures in Risk and Resilience, the Steel City Re podcast on managing reputation risk. Today's episode: a board wants its risk team to assess D&O reputation insurance. The setting: the CLO has just started her job and asked to meet with the company's enterprise risk executive and corporate secretary at a nearby bar. "I assume you're buying," said the risk executive through a smile. "She should," added the corporate secretary. "They won't even scratch her credit card. CLO compensation in the S&P 500 rose from $3.3 million to $4.2 million between 2022 and 2025. I looked it up on the way over." The CLO signaled to the bartender. "Yes, I'm buying," she said, "but I'm going to make you work for it. The board chairman and the CEO pulled me aside today, separately, within my first hour on the job, and asked for my opinion on D&O reputation insurance." "D&O reputation insurance," the risk executive repeated. "On your first day?" "On my first day," the CLO confirmed. "I'm skeptical," the risk exec continued. "Reputation risk is a symptom, not cause, and we already manage the major causes of reputation risk: finance, compliance, and every other mission-critical risk. Manage these risks every day to keep the plaintiffs far away," the corporate secretary sang poorly. The risk exec ignored her. "Reputation risk insurance sounds like something a management consultancy dreams up between billing cycles." "Let me politely disagree," the corporate secretary said, no longer singing. "I was in the boardroom last week when 2 directors expressed concern about our AI initiative. They're worried that a high-profile hallucination event will reflect on them personally, make them unemployable as directors. Professionally disabled was the phrase one used." "Go on," said the CLO. "They weren't worried about the company's liability for not deciding well," the secretary continued. "They were worried about social media insinuations that they were incapable of deciding well. Too old, wrong gender, wrong minority, wrong background to understand AI." The enterprise risk exec audibly harumphed. "Which is exactly why they should be giving us resources to better manage AI risk. They already have liability insurance for it." "Not really," the CLO said. "D&O liability insurance is narrowly targeted to cover legal exposure, things that get adjudicated in a court of law. If they're smeared in the court of public opinion for being risky to an AI-driven company, they could be tagged as governance risks and become untouchables for working for any other public company." "You got a for instance to share?" asked the risk executive. The corporate secretary didn't miss a beat. "Cracker Barrel's rebrand fiasco, the really ugly social media character assassination that followed cost a board member his seat." "I've got one too," the CLO added. "December 2024, Brian Thompson, United Health. You both remember." "Hard to forget," the secretary chimed in. "After that event," the CLO continued, "internet searches for corporate governance risk rose 2,100%. Searches for reputation insurance up 2,400%. These are not random fluctuations. It's a big issue." The table was silent for a moment. "Okay," the risk exec said. "If we're being creative about this, and I stress if, this is how ERM would strengthen board-level reputation risk management. We'd recommend the board establish a reputation risk committee and keep informed with reputation risk reporting. ERM would engage in regular reputation risk scenario modeling to help direct risk management resources. I still think D&O reputation insurance is a distraction." "Let me play that back," the CLO said. "ERM's view is that it already has the tools to manage D&O reputation risk, so we don't need D&O reputation insurance?" "Yes," the risk exec replied. "Reputation risk management fits within our existing ERM architecture, so no insurance required." "Wait, we're overlooking the board's perspective," the secretary interjected. "Directors value the governance infrastructure the 3 of us maintain: risk reporting, procedural guidance, governance risk oversight. Our track record is impressive, said the enterprise exec, mostly for the CLO's benefit. Sure, continued the secretary, but none of them would take a board seat without D&O liability insurance. Our insurance risk governance simply hasn't matured to that same level yet. The enterprise risk exec seemed to be waiting for the secretary to finish. And I think it's what shareholders expect, he added. The risk exec thought for a moment before replying. I'm not fully converted, she said. ERM is about risk management, not insurance, but AI and social media could be a toxic mix. I can see why the board wants the protection of D&O reputation insurance. That's how others see it too, the CLO added. The American Law Institute began recommending reputation insurance last year, as did the Directors and Chief Risk Officers Institute, specifically for directors and officers, the secretary added. Further, the CLO said, if D&O reputation insurance is recommended by governance authorities to protect our governance process, and we knowingly forgo it, and we have a crisis, tethered to an AI malfunction, for instance, the secretary added. Yeah, if we have an AI malfunction, the CLO continued, and social media takes our board to the woodshed, we may be handing an activist shareholder a fiduciary negligence claim on a silver platter. The table fell silent again. Well, I'm in, the corporate secretary said. D&O reputation insurance is good for undistracted board operations, and it's a clean compliance narrative, responsible governance, documented and defensible. The enterprise risk exec sighed as she leaned back in her chair. I still say the ERM community is split on this, but I'm persuaded that D&O reputation risk is real enough that it makes sense to protect the board. But I reserve the right to remain publicly skeptical. The waiter appeared with their drinks. Noted and appreciated, the CLO said as she raised her glass. I'll call the CEO after this round and let him know we agree that D&O reputation insurance is practical and prudent. To all of you, for making my first day on the job entirely too interesting. To reputation insurance, said the secretary, raising his glass, may our board never file a claim. And, added the risk exec somewhat dryly, may whoever needs to file a claim have bought D&O reputation insurance well in advance. With reputation risk forecasting, management, and insurance, Steel City Re helps companies build and prove to stakeholders their thoughtful risk management and dutiful governance over all that is mission critical. It is an authenticated story stakeholders can appreciate and value.